All right, welcome back. Things change a lot in the course of 2 minutes. So severe thunderstorm warning for Davidson County now. So we're going to stay with you until this thing gets on by. And I'm just getting comfortable here, making sure you can see what's going on behind me. And so this new warning is in effect until 5:15. And so I'm going to zoom on down and let you see what we're talking about. We just talked about this storm causing all sorts of problems in Dixon County, then into Cheatham County. Kingston Springs just got it pretty good. And it looks like a possible structure fire, getting word of that now, behind this storm, in the wake of the storm, along Highway 70 at the 5100 block in Dixon County. Possible structure fire caused by lightning, 5100 block of Highway 70. Hey, it's no surprise. Stefano DiPietro, you know him from WSMV4, he was just outdoors in his yard, and he said this lightning is constant, just constant cloud to ground lightning. And as soon as he said that, he said, I'm going back inside and getting safe, because you don't want to be hanging around as this comes in. There's Bellevue, here's Brentwood, there's Linton, and the most dangerous part of this cell is right on the western flank of the warning. So here's the brand new severe thunderstorm warning. So I told you about 15 minutes ago that north of downtown Nashville, the storm's really falling apart. This is the action zone right now. So the southern extent has taken over most of the inflow that's feeding this thing well and just giving it life. And so it's going to be a southern part of Davidson County type of storm. We are split screened. I believe that's a Bellevue Interstate 40 camera. Okay, that's in Bellevue, and so that will get a lot more nasty looking in time. In the distance, did you see that flickering? So you can see lightning on that camera. People coming out of the storm toward the camera are heading east away from it, and they've dealt with the rain. They're probably still running the wipers a little bit, and the rain is quickly closing in. So this is a 30-minute time lapse. These storms, let me clear this depiction here of the encircled warning. These storms have been racing today at about 45 miles an hour. So good news for the football games around Nashville. That is one positive note. You know, we've got a bunch of games that didn't get moved to last night around Nashville. Many of them will be A-OK. Clarksville, for example, is in great shape right now, but we've got to get through the storms. I'm a little more concerned south and east of Nashville for maybe some delays in the football tonight and a couple of cancellations probable as well, especially southeast of there. Let's do a fresh storm track. It looks like this cell has taken on more of a west-northwest to east-southeast track. And so given that, moving east-southeast at about roughly 40 to 45, we'll take it at 43 miles per hour. That's going to take it over Brentwood. Again, Forest Hills, we called you out before. Green Hills in some of the rain or momentarily. Let me just shift this to the east and give you a better view of the storm and the timestamp there. So there you go. Bellevue at 421. Vaughn's Gap at 423. Forest Hills at 427. Grassland around 430. That's 10 minutes from now. Barry's Chapel, just south of Grassland. Brentwood Academy, 431. Hillsborough Acres at 431. Radnor Lakes, southern Davidson County, right near the Davidson and Williamson County line, around 431. This is Fieldstone Farms, so that's about 5 minutes by driving north of downtown Franklin. And then Brentwood High School, that's pretty much right smack dab in the middle of Brentwood. All those little white dots correspond to one or all of these essentially towns and times, so all of them collectively together. So it's going to zoom across northern Williamson, southern Davidson, probably given that time projection, be into northern Rutherford County before 5. It's going to be very close. You know, distance from Laverne and Smyrna, we have hundreds of thousands of people in southeast Davidson County, Laverne, Smyrna, and Murfreesboro, and a good many of them probably watching right now. As the crow flies, it's only 23 miles. And so given that, I think it's just before 5 in Laverne and Smyrna, this storm sliding on through. All right, that is our West Nashville transmitting tower camera transmitting to all of you watching via various ways right now, but also capturing some of that rain that's between West Nashville and downtown Nashville. And this is just another great looking view. Is that our Mobile 4? What do we have that? We just went back to our West Nashville camera. This is outside our television station. Okay. There you go. Okay, so the rain is in our parking lot. That's our TV station. I don't know if we can flip prompter on this camera 7, the one that's facing the weather center that will help me. But essentially, we have from Westmead. So we have Westmead 440. You know, WSMV, here's Green Hills, so it's about to get Hillsborough Road. This is Hillsborough Road, or 431, right here. And so you can see it's starting to rain. Down toward Forest Hills, it's not raining yet, but it will here momentarily. And then down into Williamson County. And then the bulk of this really heavy rain, lightning is going to bisect that run right across it here in the next 5 minutes or so. Gusty wind, very likely. Again, this is a severe storm. I have not gotten more reports. We've gotten a couple of great videos coming out of Dixon County of what it looked like as the storms went through. So we're still getting those ready for television, but we'll show this with you, or show this to you here in a bit. But they essentially show what you deal with as the storms move on by. So again, headed to Brentwood, there's Crockett Park, Cool Springs, Nolensville, and Nashboro Village. Now, if you were watching me 10 or 15 minutes ago, I talked about the fact that we were getting maybe a little rotation. So let's check on that. And this is the area I was focused on. It was back around Kingston Springs, and now it's moved all the way down to between Linton and Bellevue. So we're talking about not far from the Loveless Cafe, just to give you perspective, near I-40, and then we have the Natchez Trace. Good looking live camera right there. That is in the middle of it. Wow. And so you can see how traffic has reduced speeds probably to 35 miles an hour. It's just sheets of rain, wind-swept sheets of rain. Somebody on the other side, couple of cars with their flashes on. So without question, this will be impactive of the afternoon travel as it comes on through. The good news is it's one line of storms. It is not 3 or 4 rounds that's going to last 8 hours in one given area. You got one line of storms that gives you a storm chance for probably 60 to 90 minutes max, and then you're in terrific shape. Here's the top-down view. Let's reset First Alert Live Radar. Again, always available and accessible on the WSMV4 app and the WSMV4 First Alert Weather app. So both of those. It's actually, if you go to the App Store, you actually search WSMV Weather app, WSMV Weather app, and it should come right up. I'm going to confirm that. I'm going to just verify what I'm saying is right. I'm going to go to my App Store just so I don't mislead any of you. I haven't downloaded it for years because it's been on my phone forever. WSMV Weather app, and let's see what comes up. And there it is, #1 in the list, WSMV Weather app. And so severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 5:15 for Davidson, Cheatham, and Williamson. Oh, good. We've got that Dixon video. So we've got a lot going on. We've got the storm in progress. This is what it did. The storm we're watching now in Davidson County, in Dixon County. So you can see as that storm rolled on by, windswept rain, dropping visibility to maybe a quarter mile at best. I mean, it's hard to see those trees in the distance, and frequent lightning. All right, Bordeaux. This is the video from Bordeaux? Okay, so this one is from Bordeaux, I'm told now. And so, yeah, so just a rough-looking storm. All right, there's and notice how the sun goes down here in 20 minutes, but as the storm moves overhead, it really makes it look almost like darkness is upon us. And so if you're heading toward the west and you're trying to drive into this, the sunlight's going to be zapped from the sky, so to speak, and then you'll have to deal with the sheets of rain, and then you'll have to deal with the road spray, and on top of that, the ponding. So just watch out. Please avoid travel if you can until this moves on by. Okay, Bellevue off. Someone just hit me on Facebook Messenger saying a very strong wind. Bellevue off Poplar Creek. Very strong wind and deluge. Pea-size hail. Thank you, Roy Hiller. So Roy's probably watching right now. And so he just gave us that live report from Bellevue, Poplar Creek. So there's definitely gusty wind with this in the storm. And so it's leaning out into the west side of, I guess the rural parts of Williamson County. And so you can see Hunters Hill and Devonshire Manor and Sunnyside Estates and River Rest, Grassland. There's the Davidson-Williamson County line. The strongest wind with this is probably right here, probably lining up to get Grassland. So before it gets Grassland, you're going to roll through Stevens Valley. Stevens Valley has a whole bunch of homes, beautiful new homes, and then you roll down Sneed, and you eventually get to, I think it's called Old Natchez Country Club, and then you get to Grassland. There's a middle school there. There's a ballpark. Hopefully nobody's out at the ballpark. And then if it continues on this trajectory, it's going to get to Cool Springs and Crockett Park. Now, we are saturated with live cameras down in Cool Springs, and so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes in time. There's Westmead. Highway 100 is in the teeth of this thing as well. So I pointed out 431 before. 431 is here, and this is Highway 100 right here. So it's between those two highways, the worst of the weather. Probably at least pea-size hail, maybe for some of you dime-size hail. Once we get to downtown Nashville, it's rainy. We're hearing frequent rumbling. You know, WSMV is where we are, of course. Or none of us is remote, so right here is where we are, and we hear the rumbling. I don't hear terrible downpours. It's probably moderate rain at worst. And in northern Davidson County, people watching this from there wondering, hey, what's happening with me? It's just light to moderate rain. So the bulk of the bad stuff is Nashville south all the way down to Franklin in time. Severe thunderstorm warning for Cheatham, for Davidson, and for Williamson County until 5:15. 3 counties. There's two lines of storms. Here's the one storm line, and this is the final one. There's a couple of showers north and west of there, but these are very inconsequential. And then here's the precursor one. See this? Jamestown near Cookeville, not quite to Cookeville, north side of Cookeville. 2 main lines, and then once they're by, that's it. So what we can do is say Hopkinsville, have a fantastic Friday evening. Clarksville, you do the same. Paris and Waverly. In fact, Paris, Clarksville, and Hopkinsville never found their ways into the tornado watch. It was just east and south of there. So for most of us, we have a tornado watch until 10. Does that mean we definitely get a tornado? Absolutely not. Does it mean that we have a chance at one? Yes. Yeah, we do have a chance at one because there's been a rolling motion in the atmosphere today all day, since probably about 10 in the morning, that you didn't even know was there. But it's there, and there's a chance that that rolling motion becomes inverted from the horizontal to the straight up and down or vertical and becomes a problem and makes one of these storms rotate. And so we've seen some rotation with this storm. Here's an updated view of the rotation detector. I'm just curious about this, and it looks like it's less significant than it was before. It's a little more compact, a little tighter rotation. If you're going to see a tornado, typically you'll see a real tight rotation, and this right now doesn't look overly concerning around Grassland. But that's where there would be rotation building in along Sneed Road, as we mentioned just a few minutes ago. Okay, we're getting some good reports coming in now. Nippers Corner getting into thunder. Nippers Corner. So Nippers Corner isn't even close to this thing, and so this is carrying pretty far tonight. So Nippers Corner, if I'm going to draw this right, it looks like Nolensville Road. Nippers Corner looks like it's probably right about here. So this little dot, southern Davidson County, just north of the county line with Williamson, but the thunder and lightning's coming in. The rain's definitely coming your way, so heads up in that area. Edmondson Pike, if you're down in that area, all the way down into northern Williamson, that goes into Williamson County as well. This, the strongest storm in the area. This is the only severe storm in the area. Okay, we got Mobile 4 split screen now. Where's Mobile 4? On 40. Heading towards Bellevue. Okay, so on 40 headed toward Bellevue. So it looks like, you know, if we draw from Nashville to Bellevue on I-40, most of Bellevue is in much better shape. Much of Bellevue is in much better shape. The worst of the storm is now southeast of that I-40 corridor. All right. You are watching WSMV 4. Good afternoon. Time now 4:30. I'm Dan Thomas. We're in wall-to-wall coverage of a severe thunderstorm warning impacting the Nashville area, Franklin, Brentwood. It's got Williamson County, parts of Cheatham County, and Davidson County until 5:15 in the crosshairs of a very powerful storm, and we will stay with you on First Alert Live radar until the storm is out of this general area, the Nashville area. I mean, it's Friday afternoon. People are trying to head home from work. Maybe maybe afternoon activities, moms or dads taking kids, shuffling them from one place to another, or shuttling them from one place or to another. And so we have to just be with you and be there for them as they're dealing with this. And if you haven't gotten the storms yet, it's not a guarantee that you will, but you got a reasonable chance. Where I don't think we'll get much of anything is up and through here. I think the main event is done. Where I think we have a much better chance is down and through here. And the farther north you are in this eastern box. So I'd say up and through here, you've got a better chance of any strong storms. That's where the Storm Prediction Center has actually drawn their level 2 chance, but we all have a tornado watch except for that northwestern tier. So there's a chance of severe in southeastern Middle Tennessee. I think it's just a lower chance in my professional opinion than, say, where I put that second check mark up, around, say, Smith County, or up towards, say, Jackson County, or over toward the eastern parts of Wilson County, Rutherford County. You still have to get this storm, and you haven't had much of anything yet. All right, we zoom on down and look at the severe cell and show you where we're being impacted by the cell now and where it's headed next, and we'll time it out. Look at all the lightning from Nashville down through Brentwood and Franklin. Here's 30 minutes worth of movement on this. And it's really moving along. It's being pushed by winds about 2 miles, on average, 2 miles above the ground. So those wind speeds today are roughly 50 miles an hour or so. So it's moving east-southeast at about 45 right now. It is right over the I-65 Old Hickory Boulevard exit. Can we pull up that camera? That should be pretty good. I know we're about to lose daylight, and usable TDOT cameras will go away unless they're well lit. But that should be a good one. Some really nasty weather there. Grassland, it looks like we have a little rotation in your area. We don't have a tornado warning, but we have a tornado watch. Just bear that in mind. Could be especially gusty winds. Looks like they're leaning out and getting Fieldstone Farms. Wow, look at that. So there's actually a camera at Fieldstone Farms. If you could pull up, you get some options, but if you pull up the TDOT that is at I-65 and Old Hickory Boulevard, I don't know the number, but it's on the Davidson-Williamson County line. That should be getting it pretty good. But look at that bow. So we call this a bow echo, where it looks like someone pulls back a bow and there's just a lot of cocked up energy, potential energy in that bow. And it gets released in the form of kinetic energy or motion, and that's what's happening here over Fieldstone Farms moving toward Cool Springs. So anybody watching from there, hit me on Facebook Messenger or let me know some other way what's going on in those two areas. You know, some kids just getting out of school. Hopefully the walkers have been held. Hopefully the bikers have been held at some of these elementary schools that get out around 4 o'clock. Crockett Park, some of those down just on the north side of downtown Franklin, for the safety of the children. You know, something to think about there. Wow, what a nasty looking storm. There's got to be at least pea-sized, maybe nickel-sized hail right up along Interstate 65 and OHB. And so, okay, so we've got it pulled up right now. And yep, that's just that's about a mile north of the intersection there, but that shows they just passed the worst part of the storm. And so the worst part is a little farther south, even down into northern Williamson is going to show it good. Hey, we got to watch Grassland. This thing is really getting wrapped up. Let me pull up rotation detector just to make sure we don't have a sneaky little ball of rotation that intensifies between Fieldstone and Grassland, and moving toward Brent Haven North. So there's Hallbrook, there's Boxwood Hall, Crockett Park. There's broad rotation in this area. Nothing immediately concerning. Like I said before, no, we don't have a tornado warning, so nothing immediately concerning in terms of a tornado developing, but it's definitely an area to watch. Right in through there, that's at 31, that's Franklin Road. So Franklin Road, we go back to First Alert Live radar, and right in through there, that notch. We got to watch that closely moving toward Crockett Park. All right, we're getting a lot of messages coming in. Let me just read a couple of these. Okay, someone's watching from Thompson Station here in rural Cookeville. They got some rain. Thank you so much for that pity. Nippers Corner, we got that report before. Thank you so much. Wicked lightning from someone earlier around Pegram. So good reports coming in. Keep them coming. There's Franklin downtown, and you'll get some rain, but much worse weather going to hit Cool Springs, Crockett Park. Then we get over towards, say, Owl Creek in Nolensville. So if you take Concord Road in northern Williamson County and you go out, I'm just guessing it's right along here somewhere, and you head toward Nolensville, you get to, say, Sunset Elementary, Sunset Middle, Owl Creek, I'm estimating, is right about here. It's a park, it's a development with some homes. There's a lot of very fancy neighborhoods in through here, and they're all going to get a good soaking. So if you put some grass seed down that hasn't taken yet, this is going to really soak it in, but it's going to mess up the afternoon drive. Interstate 24, thankfully much of this hasn't gotten the interstate yet. So hopefully a lot of people have gotten on by Paragon Mills. So up around Antioch, Nashville Village, this is 41. 41 is the same as Nolensville Road, and that is just super duper sloppy now. It looks like the camera froze, but that's Fieldstone Farms in Hillsborough Road. So good shot there, and it just shows us soaking downpours as people are coming and going on their Friday afternoon. Not ideal weather, 4:36. Thankfully, most of these football games start at 7. Those that haven't been canceled, those that haven't been played last night, or those that won't be postponed. So as this continues to move along, you got to figure that this whole zone is going to have decent, if not very good, football weather this evening. It's the area east of there that I'm concerned about for high school football to be all messed up and delayed even more, or just completely canceled. Okay. All right. Let's take another top-down view, put it in motion. Again, First Alert Live Radar. You're watching WSMV 4. The time now is 4:37, and I haven't gotten much in the way of damage reports in the last little bit, so that's good. Could be even larger than quarter-size hail in this hail core. All right, let's go for a closer look of all this lightning. This is obviously the worst storm on the radar. And so these little clusters, these little pockets of black shaded areas. Let's go to the storm threat button. I haven't pulled that up yet. So this isn't always a ground truth, but it gives you a good idea how big some of this stuff could be. So let's take a look. So we said before, you know, maybe 1-inch diameter hail, maybe a little bit larger than that. There's some melting, but it's not April, it's not May. We didn't get to 85 or 88 today. We got to 73 based on what I saw on the observations from the airport. So there's minimal melting from these storms. And the thing with these storms today is that they're not super tall. And so the fact that the hail is not being produced very high up, there could be some decent sized hail. Here's another, potential. I don't know that it's this large or strong. I don't think it will get 3-inch diameter hail. But the point is, the radar is giving us an indicator that we have in this area, Williamson-Davidson County line, on the black shaded areas here, the potential for a good size hail. So I know there's a tremendous amount of apartment complexes where I've just put that little dot: Antioch, Tusculum, Brookview Estates. There are some garages, but not too many. And so hopefully, this hail is smaller than would cause damage. But there's a lot of vehicles that don't have options to be protected from this that comes on by. Okay, we have Dickson County flooding video to share with you. And so we'll take a look at that as that comes up. I am going to just take a little water here. We've got a split screen right now with a live camera, and this, okay, there's that flooding video. Let's take a look at that. So clearly, more rain than the drainage system there, the little, I don't know, the culvert, it's probably coming out of the gutter there pretty well too, can handle. And the leaves don't help at all. I wish I had said that on TV yesterday, that clear the leaves from the drains. If the rain hasn't gotten to you yet, this is my advice. Get outdoors and clear the leaves from, if you have a drain in front of your house, or from the little drains in your yard. I have a few of those things, and they're all stopped up with leaves probably. And so this water is going to have nowhere to go and could cause some problems. Pardon me. So if you're over in Gainsborough, you've gotten a little rain, but Cookeville, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, you get the idea. You're going to want to take care of the drainage in your area to make sure this water can get out of there as soon as it comes in. But it's mainly that one storm. Now, I do want to show you this one. There is a little lightning with it, not much. Livingston, Monterey, this is 111. So moving along to the east, moving due east. So this thing's going to be in Sunbright. Sunbright is not in our area. That's East Tennessee. And so it's the folks in Knoxville who have the TV there that will guide Sunbright and Caryville through the storm. But this is rolling right through southern Overton County and then parts of Fentress as well. This Allard, mainly it's just light to moderate rain, but there is some heavy rain about to get Windletown, just got Rickman, might have been some pea-sized hail. A couple of rumbles of thunder in Livingston. Looks like there's a sort of petering out. Little rain over toward Bucky's, Crossville there, Interstate 40. And then once we get to southern Kentucky, these are strong, but they're not too terrible. Okay, they're not too terrible. So these are moving toward Tompkinsville. The terrible cell is this one now starting to work into Rutherford County. I think we'll get a warning for Rutherford County, but we'll see in just the next couple of minutes. Okay, let's go to WSMV4's Brendan Tierney in Mobile 4. Brendan, what do you see?
Dan, we're out here in the Bellevue area on I-40 East heading back in towards Nashville, kind of tracking along with this main cell of the storm hitting downtown Nashville. We were heading west as it was coming through at the start, and it was coming down really hard at points. Can tell you, we haven't seen any hail out there, but the rain, as you mentioned, is definitely causing a lot of issues on the road with those leaves. We've seen plenty of ponding on the roads. In fact, right before the Bellevue exit on I-40 West, you really have to come almost to a complete stop to get through all of the water that's on the road, cars slowing down substantially. Luckily, we have been seeing lots of people leaving plenty of following distance in this heavy rain out there. But the interesting thing is we've been driving all across the area today is the way it's setting up, kind of not one big line like we're used to seeing going all the way from north to south. Instead, it's more these little cells. So when you're not in one, actually, it's sunny outside. It's a pretty nice day. So the storms kind of come out of nowhere. We were seeing all sorts of lightning approaching from like the Ashland City, Dixon area as the storm was moving into Nashville. Right now, we are still seeing that rain coming down pretty heavy. Definitely not the hardest we have seen, though, in the area as we have been out and about driving around this afternoon. But you never know when that next bit of heavy rain is going to hit you. So you definitely want to make sure you're taking it slow when you're out on the road.
All right, thank you, Brendan Tierney and Mobile 4. Just take your time out there. We appreciate the live reports and certainly the live pictures so people can see that it's just worthwhile to stay home and stay indoors until all this moves on by. And it shouldn't take too terribly long. Still some rain in Davidson County. Heavy thunderstorms right now about to lean into Laverne in Smyrna. It's around Cool Springs. Next in line is Nolensville. And so Nolensville is home to our First Alert Live radar. So you see that sweep right in the middle of the screen there? That red line is Crockett Park, and so it is fully surrounded. I wonder what our Nolensville camera looks like right now. It's probably showing, as it looks to the east-northeast, ominous skies, but it's about to show just tremendously poor visibility. I guess it's probably dark now and almost unusable. We have an update on the airport. Yes. All right, let's go to Lauren and Marius for a moment.
Yeah, I've got flynashville.com pulled up right now. Plus, we've got a tweet for you that we want to show you. But there are some issues happening right now at the airport. Interesting enough. Okay, so here's the tweet on your left-hand side. I'm not able to see that. I'll just tell you.
I think I can read it for you. It says, due to high winds, a second ground stop for arriving flights has recently been issued at Nashville International Airport. Flights are currently departing from BNA. However, a number of scheduled flights this evening have been delayed or canceled. We strongly urge passengers to check with airlines for the very latest flight information.
You know what's really interesting with this? Like, I'm looking at the time right now. It's 4:44, but I'm looking at the Fly Nashville flight board, and a 4:45 p.m. scheduled flight has already departed. And you look at, we know exactly where BNA is on this map. You look directly at Nashville and then look due east. That's basically, and a little south, that's basically where the airport is. But these airplanes have been able to take off. One that was for 4:45 already is taken off. One that was 4:47 already taken off. It's kind of amazing. Yeah. They were able to get out early, but we've got others that are very delayed. 5 o'clock delay, 5:08 delay, a 5:13 flight totally canceled. So if you're trying to get out tonight, yeah, you're going to need to watch for this, because right now, anything up until 6:30 p.m. has already been chosen as either delayed or canceled. So just stay close to your phone and look at updates from the airplane.
And this is all part of, like, not part of a reduction, but on top of the reductions that we're already seeing across the country, where a lot of the airlines, or 40 airports have been reduced 4% of their flights already taken off. And then to have this weather come through BNA, it's just going to hinder a lot of passengers and them trying to get to their destinations.
Totally. So ground stop at BNA right now for this severe weather. Dan Thomas, you know, when you're looking at this and how long this is going to last, how many more hours would you think this would even impact us here across Nashville?
That's a good question. So let me zoom out a little bit. So the ground stop, did they say it was because of the wind, or they say
specifically for the storms? Is what they're saying. Specifically
for the storm. Okay, because, you know, I wouldn't be, if there's lightning on the tarmac, I can't imagine they want baggage folks moving bags in and out. And I do see some lightning back to the west. So we have the main line moving on by. A secondary storm is back toward Kingston Springs. And so it may be, if they keep it in effect because of lightning, it's possible it's going to be out for probably until 6 p.m. as a possibility. But if they're just concerned about the damaging severe elements of that storm is already starting to move away from the airport. It's still on the south side, but it's starting to move away, so maybe 30 minutes in that regard. So just not sure how they play things there. But, you know, back in the military and the Air Force, we certainly didn't want anybody on the airfield, an aircraft maintainer, when there was lightning, and there's still some lightning back in Cheatham County. So it could be quite some time. All right, top-down view to reset. We have clusters of storms, and then we have areas that have gotten almost nothing or nothing right in through here, but you have a shot. And then we have areas that have gotten what they're going to get, and they're pretty well done. So right up in here, through here. So Hopkinsville, Paris, Dover, Clarksville, back into Carroll County, a good chunk of Benton County, really. I think you're done with this. I mean, there's no chance of severe anymore in Springfield and Robertson County. It's just these little clusters of rain. Now, we're getting hit by some pretty good rain at the radar site. So we're going to bebop between different radar views just until the heart of the storm gets away. And you can see still some pretty good downpours, Portland, Greenbrier. You can see back on the Williamson, Davidson, Cheatham County line, another good storm coming in. And it looks like more rain, Spring Hill, Thompson Station. Somebody just asked me on social media, hey, Dan, when is this going to get to Thompson Station? Pardon me, when is this going to get to Spring Hill? Well, let me help you out. This time lapse is 30 minutes on the radar. And so given that, I'd say rain moves into Spring Hill probably in the next 15 minutes. 20 minutes at most, and then lightning and thunder right overhead probably in 25 minutes. And then you'll have to deal with that threat for probably a solid hour or so. You can see back toward Linden, some of that developing. This warning that we're wall-to-wall for, so we're not in a newscast per se, we're just focused on the storm, is in effect until 5:15. The good news about this storm, it's still quite strong, but it looks like it might be trying to pulse down a little bit. It sort of ebbs and flows. There's that warning expiration time, 5:15. Cheatham is now out of it, clearly, and so now it's just, okay, Davidson and Williamson counties. We have hail in Franklin. By the way, I got a report of a Fieldstone Farm said pea-size hail. Let's see that video, a picture, okay. So it looks like, I don't know if that's on somebody's, I don't know, glove, or it looks like maybe a tight view of a sock, but it's probably nickel-size hail. It looks pretty good. So you don't want that on your roof. You don't want that on your car. You certainly don't want it on you. You know, it impacts the plants out there. Now, the thing with the plants, the seasonal flowers, those will be cooked in just a couple of days. So I wouldn't worry too much about that as we get a hard freeze a couple of nights. Now, this live camera that's up on the screen, is that the Bellevue shot? One of the TDOT cameras, and that is showing where the storm was and where it's no longer. And so again, it's not going to last the entire evening. It'll stay damp afterwards. It'll certainly cool the weather down. Again, we get to about 73, maybe 74 today at the airport. So there's no chance you come out of this rain in the 70s. But we'll cool back into the 50s. So if you are going out tonight, take a jacket, take an umbrella just in case you get one more shower. This warning right here is still in effect until 5:15, and it remains to be seen whether or not we get a new one to the east in Rutherford County. Right now, it looks like a little notch for the inflow around Nolensville. We told you before that was over Grassland. Let me look at rotation detector. I always like to do this when I see a notch that looks a little concerning, and I don't see a whole lot I don't see a tremendous amount. Nothing that, because we'd be looking for. There's a little bit of green here, indicative of inbound wind toward the radar. A little red, indicative of outbound wind from the radar. But it's not unbelievably impressive. It's sort of broad. And so broad is okay. What you don't want is like the figure skater when he or she is twirling and draws his or her arms in, well, they spin a lot faster. Just the conservation of angular momentum, and we don't want that to happen with this rotation I'm showing now, because if that happens, it stretches and it tightens and it goes faster, and then that has a better chance of extending north or up and down closer to the ground. And then maybe turning into a tornado. Okay, Williamson. So the Weather Service typing right now, the storm in Davidson and Williamson is showing some signs of weakening. We just talked about that 3 minutes ago, but still looks to be severe. Another severe warning coming downstream shortly. So downstream of this is obviously Rutherford and maybe Cannon. Let's see what they do. But they're getting ready to type. I mean, when you're this electrical, you know that there's very likely some ice. Not a guarantee there's some ice in the storm, meaning hail, but very likely. We've seen ground truth pictures. We've gotten reports from people, yes, I got hail at my house. A lot of collisions make for the friction, make for the change in electrical charges from the storm base to the ground to the top of the storm. It just makes for all this lightning to be possible. So there's probably still some clusters of hail, pea to dime size, maybe nickel size, and it's still some gusts of wind, strong winds. So these have been pretty solid storms today, but not for everyone, just for some of you. New video. All right, what do we have and where is it from? People running in the rain and taking cover. So, oh, wow, look at that downpour when the video plays. Ooh, you can see that. So sheets of rain. Someone else, that shopping cart is somebody else's problem, clearly. I don't even know if you get a B for effort on that. Definitely not an A for effort with a shopping cart. When you're getting that wet, you just want to get into some sort of cover. So they just get into their vehicle. Now, the sun went down 7 minutes ago. Typically, we have some sort of light on the horizon for another 30 minutes. It's gone. It's all gone. In these storms, we see a little light there because we're not in the storm per se anymore in downtown Nashville. We're in a little light rain. But when you're in the thick of it, it just blocks out the light. And so there's more rain coming to downtown Nashville. Ooh, that was a good one. Sounds like our transmitting tower just got hit. And I have a little panel here that lets me control cameras, and that just flashing, so that means it's angry. It took the power hit too. So sometimes our transmitting tower is a quarter mile up, and it's it's waiting to be struck by lightning. Sometimes in some storm outbreaks, it's struck a half dozen or more times. All right, Brendan Tierney has an update. Live in Mobile 4. Brendan, what's the latest?
Hey, Dan, we've made our way over to 440, moving from 40 down kind of the southern loop around Nashville. The rain is starting to lighten up here a little bit, but the damage has definitely been done. There's some places over on I-40, kind of near that Richland Park area, Alabama Avenue in particular, where the road just completely flooded out. We were going and just saw so many brake lights ahead of us, and all of those cars were stopped for a good reason. They just had water rushing all over their windshield. Luckily, though, it seems the worst of this specific cell that we've been in, as you were mentioning with the storm weakening a bit, is exactly what we're seeing. There's still plenty of lightning overhead, though. That's been what's been catching our eyes the most probably out here. All of those bolts of lightning, the strikes we see flashing all around us out here, and cars definitely slowing down because of that. People with that evening commute, we're kind of about to hit that 5 o'clock rush hour time frame, can expect it to take a lot longer as they're heading home, maybe taking their kids out for some activities on this Friday evening. If you can, maybe wait at home until those storms come through all the way, because, Dan, it's one of those situations where once it comes through, it looks like we are fully in the clear. We even, when we were in Bellevue, saw the sun for a little bit. So we'll pass it back now to Marius and Lauren. As you guys are in the studio, we'll, of course, continue to follow this here on the road. All right, thank you, Brendan. As you heard the thunder and lightning here, as you can imagine, this is going to start affecting customers with NES.
Yeah, so we're talking about power power outages that we're already seeing, about 864. We've been able to pull it up now on your screen as well. And you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 different issues where there are outages. And each time we can click on those individually and see how many customers are out in each of those places. But let's see, is there an update? It's still 864 right now.
Yeah, still at 864. But I mean, as you can imagine, it's
1,000.
I was just about to say it's probably going to go. It's probably going to grow. And right now we're at 1,039 and 70 events or 70 active events right now. So it's getting bad out there.
Yeah, you guys back in the control room, you can refresh that and we'll see the higher number so people at home can see that as well. But Dan, you know, this is one of those things just going to keep growing here tonight.
Absolutely so. And then still moving over a very populated area. By the way, we just got a brand new severe thunderstorm warning. And so this for southeast Davidson and now Rutherford County. So just what we suspected, even parts of Wilson County until 6 o'clock tonight. So that same storm just trucking along. And so you get a better view. It's from Noreen in Wilson County down through Las Casas, Murfreesboro, not quite to Auburntown, not quite to Cannon County, but in time, if it holds on, it will get you Almaville. So the I-24 corridor, obviously all of Murfreesboro, where there's more than 100,000 people there. So this is just getting a lot of people and affecting their Friday evening plans. 231, looks like the super speedway is impacted by this, essentially on the Wilson-Rutherford County line. So that whole area, Smyrna, Laverne, and all the way back into parts of Davidson. So the old warning is this orange polygon to the west, and the new warning is the one that goes right here into just a little bit of a Davidson right there, and even parts of Williamson. So it looks like it's still holding on to Williamson on Nolensville Road. And so just a better view of that all the way down through Nolensville and Arrington, and then east of there in Almaville, right along 840. So it goes down to essentially the 840 corridor and then hooks over toward Bradyville. All right, so we've gotten hail, we've gotten downpours, strong wind, White Bluff. Whew, that is good stuff right there. That is nasty. So what you're seeing is not debris. It looks like just a boatload of leaves. Hopefully they didn't rake today. But that speaks to the strength of the wind with these storms. Easily a severe storm. That is the video of the day right now, at least in what we've gotten so far. Incredible. Easily a severe storm there with winds gusting higher than 60. We're really 58 miles an hour or higher as a severe storm. Now in the distance there, in the last part of that video, we got, view of the tree on the horizon. Unbelievable video. That's from, you said Charlotte or from Dixon? White Bluff. Okay, White Bluff. All right, let's go find White Bluff. I think that's a little north of Dixon. Maybe north. There's Charlotte. Where are you, White Bluff? Right, there's Burns, Tennessee City, White Bluff. So on Highway 70, is that Highway 70? Highway 70, east of Dixon. So south of Charlotte, east of Dixon, near Kingston Springs. So Kingston Springs is where I started to get locked in some rotation. So that's where the storm is really amping up. I wonder if parts of Williamson County got similar wind when it was just looking like an S curve. Sometimes you'll see a storm that looks like an S curve, and one that has sort of like here. When it's especially intense on the radar picture with pinks and blacks, and it's really sort of just leaning out, you can get some extra ferocious winds. This looks a little less intense here. It's a little more yellow and oranges than I typically see with one of these S curves. But anyway, north side of Almaville could have some really strong wind moving in, and then up in this heavy rain shaft, this heavy rain curtain around Smyrna in Laverne, just the same. So just watch out for that until it moves by. You'll get a break. Don't be fooled thinking that it's done as soon as that break occurs, because look at all the rain back in Bellevue and Westmead. So this is just complicating things for the evening for a time. More rain back towards Springfield. Again, a little rain on the south side of Clarksville, but generally speaking, things are okay. Until this main line gets on by, you still have a chance of some rain and some downpours. So here is the extent of it. And then right in through here is where the show still has to happen. That's why we say time now coming up on 5 o'clock. The ending time for the severe threat and the storms should be around 10. And so around 10 o'clock tonight, moving out. It's 5 o'clock. You're watching WSMV 4 News. I'm Dan Thomas. We're watching severe weather in the mid-state. It has moved through several counties in the mid-state. Now moving through parts of Davidson County over to Rutherford County, Murfreesboro to be impacted. We have a tornado watch until 10 o'clock tonight. There's been some hail. There's been some damaging wind. There's been some localized flooding and just terrible driving conditions for some of you. We will stay with you on First Alert Live Radar until these storms move out of the general Nashville area, at least the worst of the storms. And it's really one storm that's been the biggest problem now and for the last couple of hours, really hour and a half or so. And so it's on the southeast side of Nashville. So there's still some rain around much of the Nashville area, but it's this cell with the most lightning that is the biggest issue. And so I'm going to flip back. Here's First Alert Live Radar for another view of that, just a flip and flop in between. And we see the lightning and we see the downpours, and we still have at least a chance of some hail. Storm threat button. But it looks like there's a better chance that it's now smaller. And so we've gotten a number of reports, number of pictures in, at least one picture that shows close to, not quite to golf ball size, but larger than quarter size, which is 1 inch in diameter. And still we have that possibility, potentially that large, potentially some damaging wind gusts, as we just saw from the video in White Bluff. Good video there. Thank you all for sending in your reports and your video today as these storms have moved on by. So let's track this. We haven't done a track in just a bit. We're going to track the severe storm here, warning until 6 o'clock. Let's just verify that it looks like it's still moving at the same speed. There's no question about that. So let's do a track moving east at about 40 or so. So that's going to take it into Cannon County. So if you're watching from there, this is coming your way. So there's that 40 miles an hour. Shift this over a little bit. Almaville in your area at 506, 508 Bethel, 509 Walter Hill, Canesville at 512, Blackman High School in Murfreesboro, 514. We get Siegel High School, Murfreesboro, Las Casas, 518, and Murfreesboro, I guess it's downtown Murfreesboro, right in the square there at 521. So those are your estimated arrival times. Probably a little worse weather in all likelihood up toward Oakland or maybe Las Casas compared with downtown Murfreesboro. But we'll see. We will keep watching it and let you know for sure. All right, Carol Sullivan, who works for WSMV4, thank you for the report. She said, yes, the Brentwood wind was insane. Concord Road, Wilson Pike, pitch black, swirling wind, whipping hail. What great adjectives. Thank you, Carol, for the report there. So just essentially what she's saying is, yes, I had a severe storm where I was in Brentwood. It was definitely severe, according to Carol, and it's still holding on, but it's got that gradual weakening trend. It's trying to settle down. Now, the good news is that the sun has gone down. That means the atmosphere has begun to cool. Obviously, it cools when the rain hits you, but where we haven't had rain yet, you know, if you got to 73 in Woodbury today or Manchester, very likely you will not be at 73 as these storms come in. Sometimes you actually warm overnight. We've seen that happen with the severe weather outbreaks here in the mid-state where we start at 73 at sunset and go to 77 before the storms come in. I don't see that happening tonight because I don't think the south wind is strong enough to do that. But I think we do cool back into the 60s. That means less fuel to keep these storms severe, less fuel to keep these storms strong. So we do have a severe potential for much of the mid-state where we haven't had storms, but I think the chance is going down the later we go in the evening. You know, none of these storms is severe up and through here. This is just rain. All this is just rain with some lightning and thunder. So, you know, I'd be surprised even if we have pea-sized hail there. So don't see that and say, oh, goodness, you know, we can't go out to dinner tonight in Springfield because there's rain. You know, unless you don't like to drive in rain, I'm not concerned about severe weather once that main event comes on by. I have no concern for severe weather anymore in downtown Nashville. Dixon, not happening. Springfield, Waverly, you're done. Linden, same for you. It's where the main event hasn't happened yet. So where it's happening and where it's headed, and that should do it. Auburntown coming your way. Woodbury, Bradyville, Smithville and Christiana. Now, we've gotten a number of reports. The Weather Service is swamped, so I don't know that they've plotted any of these, but let's see if we're getting any of these plotted. Good. So we've got some coming in. So they've got a lot going on over there because they're the ones that draw up these warnings. They issue and cancel the warnings. The Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, confers with the people at the local Weather Service office, and then the Storm Prediction Center issues the watches. So the Weather Service does not do that. The Weather Service cancels the watches, just so you know how the whole system works. And then we at WSMV4 relay that information and interpret that information, interpret the radar data, and give you our own tips and advice and based on what we're seeing too. But Forest Hills on 431, again, that's Hillsborough Road, southeast of Bellevue. Looks like they got some wind damage. Probably a tree down, hopefully not a power pole. You know, what do we have the current count from NES? How many people without power?
Yeah, 1,039.
Yeah, we're still at 1,039, still 70 events.
Okay. 70 events. Wow, 1,039, so more than 1,000. So maybe maybe that is topped off. We'll see, given the fact that the storms are now moving out of Davidson. Good news there. Near Belmead, 60+ mile-per-hour wind reported in Bellevue by broadcast media and storm chasers. So that was at 426. Good stuff. Hail. Let's see how large this was. You know, sometimes it's hard to click on the right one. Let's try again. The H indicates hail. 1 inch diameter near Pegram. So M-Ping, you see that report from M-Ping? If you're a weather hobbyist and you like to send weather reports, you can Google M-Ping, and it's essentially a website that you can send weather reports to, that the Weather Service has access to, that we, the media, have access to, and it's just helpful to know what's going on. So that's you know, if you're a weather enthusiast, that's something potentially for you. A mile west-northwest of Dixon, tree blown onto a house. All right, that's not good. So I don't know if the assignment desk is listening, but on West 1st Street in Dixon, 1 mile west-northwest of Dixon at 350, a tree was blown onto a house. Hopefully, it was more of a branch than a tree, but clearly, and this is just what the Weather Service has had time to plot, you know, and this is not all that they've received probably, and it's certainly not all the reports that are out there, because some people have things happen to them or the yard, and they don't think to report it. You know, they don't think to call it in. So there's a lot more damage than that, obviously. Marius just said 70 events, 70 wind events.
Check that, Dan. It's 77 events and 1,100 people without power from NES.
So still creeping up.
Yeah.
Now, thank you for the update. Marius, you want to essentially 1,100 people without power. NES is the latest update. 77 events reported to NES to cause that. So the producer just wanted that repeated, so we're just saying it again. But a couple of spots along this storm that we got to watch. Here's one. I always get interested in the little spots that show little notches, because you know, wind and hail and lightning and rain, that's all terrible. But the most terrible of all, when you're talking severe weather, is a tornado. And a tornado at night is even worse. And so I'm always going to get interested in these little notches. And so let's zoom on down and look for any sort of rotation. You know, I don't wait for a tornado warning to get interested. I get interested before that. There's a little rotation right along 24. So here's Smyrna. You know, 24, clearly this brown line goes right through Smyrna and Laverne, right through Murfreesboro. So it's right in that area, but it's broad. It looks pretty insignificant. And then back toward Walter Hill, that doesn't look bad at all. That's on 231. So just areas to watch, areas to monitor as this storm moves along. Lightning now down to 95 strikes. That's a good trend. Notice the trend. This is a 30-minute time lapse. When lightning goes down, you can often draw a parallel to the storm health. So as the lightning goes away, the storms are getting less healthy in most cases. As the lightning ramps up, typically that means they're on the upswing or strengthening. So now as I get wider here, I'm going to see a lot more strikes in the window. This is a count of all the strikes on the map. So as I show the top down for Middle Tennessee view, it looks like we have 213 in the last, I believe I set this for 20 minutes, could be 15 minutes of cloud to ground strikes. That's a lot. Update from the Weather Service, Rutherford and southern Wilson County warning continues elsewhere across Metro. Storms are disorganized below severe levels. So essentially just what I told you a moment ago, where I encircled this whole line and I said, hey, you can cancel your dinner plans for rain and lightning, but, you know, I wouldn't. I don't mind driving in rain. I just slow down. So, but the severe threat is ahead of that. It's ahead of it. So over here and over here, still a potential in southern parts of Middle Tennessee. Now, why, you might wonder, why would southern Middle Tennessee have a lower storm chance, or not storm chance, but severe chance than northern Middle Tennessee? Isn't southern Middle Tennessee going to be warmer or more humid? The answer to that is yes. And so it got warmer today. It's certainly more humid the farther south and west you go today. So there's more instability in the low atmosphere in southern parts of the mid-state, but what they're missing there is cold air above their heads. Cold air aloft, we call it. There's more of that in southern Kentucky, northern parts of Middle Tennessee, central parts of Middle Tennessee, and so the colder air above your heads is a big part of the equation today, because we're barely warm and humid enough for these storms to develop. And so right on the I-40 corridor is a perfect mix of the warmth and instability at the surface and the cold air aloft, and that's why all the action has happened along Interstate 40 today. So that's just a little explainer if you're wondering, why is southern Middle Tennessee dormant right now for storms? There's probably not enough cold air aloft. And so you might get some rain, you might get some storms, but I'm more concerned about severe weather on the I-40 corridor and just around that, so south of it and north of it in the next little bit. Like I said before, we have a going in our favor, the fact that we have sunset, so cooling taking place. So Auburn Town, you'll get into this. It's unavoidable that you'll get drenched by rain. Woodbury, Bradyville. There's no chance you won't. You probably hear the thunder already coming in, rumbling in the distance. But there's a good chance that the storm is in a weaker fashion, weaker state when it gets to you. So good. You know, that's what we want. Smithville, McMinnville, Sparta, Spencer, you'll all get some of this stuff. Just a rainy night back in Williamson County. Again, it's not a night wrecker for most of you. It just depends on what your plans were. I mean, if you had something at 5 o'clock that had to happen at 5 and it needed dry weather outdoors, well, then it's wrecked your night. But if you've got the evening ahead of you and you can still do your what you wanted to do at 8 o'clock, hey, I think you're going to be in good shape. Maybe 7 o'clock. This is 30 minutes of time lapse. It's 5:12. 5:12, and this rain just continues to truck along. Okay, what's the live update on Nashville International?
Yeah, so that ground stop, that ground delay is going to be lifted at 5:30. So in just about 20 minutes from right now. It's interesting looking at the flight board. There's a lot of flights that are supposed to be landing between now and 5:30, upwards of 15 or so, and they're all just flying around in the air, right? Like they can't land in this right now.
Yeah, this was, they said, the ground stop at Nashville International Airport due to weather. Travelers should check their flight status with their airline. Safe travel.
And Dan has been telling us that this is going to be something that we'll see for a couple of more hours as it continues to move through. But if it's not severe at a certain point, then of course the planes can land and they can, you know, keep on with the schedule, which is interesting because we've been seeing the FAA dealing with issues all around the country in some of the larger airports in Washington and LA, in New York, Chicago.
Yeah.
Each of those airspaces having to cut down the amount of flights that are even leaving.
And we've seen a lot of lightning with the storm, and of course, you know, the airlines do not want to have their planes up in the air when there's lightning in the area.
And so neither do the travelers.
Yes, and they're going to be show extra caution in that and make sure that there's no way that this lightning is anywhere in the area where they're going to start having these planes take off. So once again, normally, you know, they wait X amount of time after the storm is left to make sure that all the electricity in the air is gone before they resume all the flights there.
Speaking of electricity, NES, just giving you a little check here. 1,100 customers still without power, 77 active events. Really, in the grand scheme of things, that's pretty low. There have been times that we have seen issues that have caused 40, 50, 60,000 people to lose power. This is not that.
Yeah, did you see that lightning there?
It's pretty incredible.
This is incredible. That's a huge storm cloud. You could see it just rushing in, and the lightning was, yeah, this was from a flight. Someone's on a flight there.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
And we just talked about the lightning in the area.
Well, this is one of those things where you're very grateful to your pilot who says, we're going to try to get on the ground early. We're going to try to get on the ground before this becomes a thing. This one, look at that. These people are taking off, it looks like.
Yeah, they're trying to get out before the bulk of the storm comes through. But you can see the lightning in the distance and how much electricity is in that storm.
Sure, and we've had a lot of you guys send us videos. We're very grateful for that because you help us tell the stories. Look how strong this wind is and the sheets of rain whipping through there. Producers, do we know exactly where this video is coming from? All right, 70 south, okay?
Yeah,
so we're like
that's in the
Bellevue area.
Yeah, in the Bellevue area. And it's coming down in droves out there. Of course, people, did we see a little hail maybe?
Yeah,
in that as well?
We have seen pea-size, nickel size, and then about 1 inch hail even Dan has seen reports of so far.
Oh, there it is right there.
Yeah, and when it accumulates on a deck there in Bellevue, you know, you're seeing it. This is almost like what's to come when it gets colder, but right now, we're in the 70s right now, and we're still seeing some of this hail coming down all across the area. Hopefully it didn't cause damage for your property.
Yeah, but when you see it, you think that, normally when hail comes, it's something bad's going to be following that. But yeah, it looks like a lot of hail accumulated on the ground in the Bellevue area.
Yeah, so we're already dropping down to some degrees, right? We're at 65 degrees around town. But what's interesting is before this storm moves through, it's going to be warmer in an area if you haven't experienced a storm yet. And as soon as it moves through, it gets a little cooler. And eventually we're going to see that huge drop that our first alert meteorologists, our team, has been telling us about, because it will get down into the 20s here in the next couple of days. So make sure you are staying on top of it, watching it for sure as we're looking at live radar again, counting the total strikes. Dan's been showing us that the number of strikes has decreased, because watch this refresh again. It's in the 200s, 299 earlier, just in the last, let's see, in the 4 o'clock hour, and now in the 5 o'clock hour, down to 105. So there's some improvement in that regard, and we've seen that the storms that are moving through now, specifically in that main line of Nashville, Brentwood, Franklin area, they are starting to weaken a little bit, which is good news for those of us who are, waiting at home saying, hey, there were errands I needed to run, right? There was a birthday present I needed to buy for that birthday party for my kids, soon, if you're in that area, you'll be able to you'll be kind of in the clear at least. It'll be easier to run some errands for you.
You'll be in the clear, but Dan has told us that rain is still going to continue for a little while longer. And those lightning strikes that you just saw hit up to 247, they have taken its toll on NES. Right now, the active events up to 95 and 1,185 people without power now.
Yeah, it does continue to go up. And that's the thing that we have to keep watching, is as more people experience not just the first event, but some of the gentler rain, even though it's still got some thunder and lightning involved, not as severe as the first. But look,
you see the wind here taking some of their outdoor patio equipment.
Yeah, okay, so you see on the top right corner, this is a Nest Cam. And I will tell you, if you, on one of your security cameras at home, if you've got the video that kind of looks like this, it starts to tell the story of the damage or the strength of a storm that's moved through, we always love for you to send that in. News at WSMV.com is an easy place to do it. You can also do it through your app. We've got an easy way for you to upload videos through the app, too.
And this is Pasquo. This is right by Stevens Valley.
Loveless.
Yes, Sneed.
Yeah, right near Loveless.
Yeah, right near Loveless Cafe, right off of Highway 100.
Dan, that lines up exactly with what you've been seeing on radar, hasn't it?
It does, yeah. We were watching the Loveless area before Highway 100. Now things have really settled down there, as all the activity that's worth really talking about is east of there. So there's still some rain around, still some lightning and thunder, some occasional rumbles. But this is the problem maker here, and it's knocking on the door of Cannon County. So still holding on south of Interstate 40. Truthfully, I'm a little surprised that there's not a whole lot a little farther north. It must have found just a little pocket of air that continues to feed it from the south, and it just wants to keep on going. We've had these storms in Middle Tennessee that start in West Tennessee, northern Mississippi. They traverse the whole area. We call those long track supercells. I'm not saying this is a supercell storm, but this storm has held on, and it's impacted probably 10 counties now, maybe more. And it's just going to be one of those storms that we'll have to watch for a while tonight. All right, we go live to Murfreesboro. Thank you for that. So in the distance, we see broken clouds, a mile marker 82.6. And so I think that's on the, I want to say the south side of Murfreesboro, south of all the Medical Center Parkway, et cetera, probably south of 840 if I remember right. But you could see some breaks in the clouds. Okay, Dixon EMA has told us that there is a tree in a house that we said just northwest of Dixon itself, downtown, about a mile northwest, and nobody is hurt, thankfully, for that. So whenever a tree comes down on a house with storms coming in, there's probably people in the house. If they're not home, then they're probably in the house. They're certainly not in the yard in most cases. So thank goodness that everyone is okay with that situation tonight in Dixon. That's what these storms can do. You know, that's why we told you several days ago, hey, there's a chance of storms. There's a chance some of these will get a little nasty. So because of that, here's a first alert weather day. And so today it's a first alert weather day. It's WSMV4's efforts to let you know first when storms are coming in, when weather that will affect you and your plans and possibly your safety is on its way. We have 2 more first alert weather days in the forecast in the next 7 days. We're talking Monday and Tuesday as the coldest weather in 8 months moves into the mid-state. If you don't believe me, remember these words. Walk out Monday morning and say, does it feel like January? And I think you'll absolutely say, yes, it does. Now, I said this during the 3:45 weathercast today, 3:45 p.m., so we've been on for hours here. And I want to share something that's important to many of you, but not all of you. Most of us, those who have irrigation systems, have not had them winterized yet. That means, you know, whether you do it yourself, there's another Murfreesboro shot. Look at that. So Murfreesboro is obviously a huge area with, I don't know if it's 10 exits on I-24. And so that is, they're in it there. So that's a little farther north. That is mile marker, ooh, I can't tell. 77. So that's 5 miles northwest of what we just showed you, and they're in the heart of that storm. It is coming down good. But what I was saying is that if you have an irrigation system and it hasn't been winterized, you need to protect it. There's a very good chance it will get damaged Monday and Tuesday if you don't. And there's a very good chance that if you have a landscaper take care of this, he or she is not going to be out there before Monday morning to take care of this. We're going into the weekend. So what you can do to save yourself headaches and money is, if you have an irrigation system, you probably have heard of your backflow preventer. It's just some pipes that are exposed above the ground outdoors. Cover it with a blanket on Sunday and have that blanket extend in all areas to the ground. And that will make a little warming tent for this thing and prevent freezing. You know, if you bust that thing, it's going to be $400, maybe $500, depending on who comes and fixes it, or you can deal with a headache yourself. So just think about doing that. We frequently get these things handled ahead of time. We get things winterized ahead of time, but because this is coming in so fast and so intense, this cold weather Monday and Tuesday, it's just not going to happen for many of you. And you know, you don't want to waste all that money and the headache of having that damage. So a little useful tip. I'm going to make a video on that later tonight on the WSMV4 weather app, and so you can see more about that this evening if you'd like. I'll put it on social as well, and you can share it with friends and whatever. So severe thunderstorm warning until 6 for parts of Rutherford and Wilson. It's now out of Davidson. So the storm's out of Davidson. So like I said before, the Weather Service cancels the watch in some cases, and you know, whenever they want to cancel it. Sometimes they let it expire, but they also cancel and issue the warning. So they canceled the Davidson County part of this. So it's just for southern Wilson. And then here's the northern half of Rutherford, really, for the severe thunderstorm warning. Lightning, thunder, little hail, damaging wind. Hey, some of you are out of the tornado watch now. That's exciting. So let's pop that up on the screen for you and let you see what I'm talking about. We're tracking the yellow counties. So I'm going to turn off the radar for a minute. Just make it disappear so it's not like the storms are gone, but let me just wipe it out here. Okay, so the storms are gone. So these are the remaining counties in the watch, all the yellow shaded ones. So Davidson's out of it, Williamson's out of it. The canceled counties are Sumner, Houston, Robertson, Davidson, Williamson, Dixon, Hickman, Humphreys, Cheatham, and Perry. Those are all canceled. All the ones that exist remain southern Middle Tennessee and eastern parts of the mid-state. Let me slide that up so you can get a better look at that. See that well? So that includes, certainly includes Giles, Wayne, and Lawrence. You're still in this thing. Lewis, This is Murray County, Marshall County, you're all in this, and then east and south of there. Rutherford's still in it. Obviously, you have a severe thunderstorm warning for your area. Wilson, Trousdale still in it. Macon. Then we get to Allen County, Kentucky. Simpson's not in it in Franklin. Allen is, Monroe, Cumberland, Clinton, and then, you know, a couple other counties that are not our problem. They're east of us. East to southeast Kentucky, essentially, not far from the Virginia line. So, good news there, making progress in getting these things out of our area. Here's the top-down view again, First Alert Live radar. Again, you can see this at your convenience on the WSMV4 app, WSMV4 weather app, whatever you like. It's showing storms, some of which have gotten south of I-40, and they're now down towards Spring Hill and Thompson Station. So we've talked about you a little bit. We had some people interested in when the storms would get to them, but these are just regular storms. So not concerning storms. I don't expect them to be so, even though you still have that tornado watch. Very remote chance of severe for you. Very, very remote chance of severe in Lewis County and Hohenwald. I think the action is farther east. You know, still some lightning and a, you know, pretty good downpour down in Franklin, so the downtown part of Franklin, and then getting over to 840, so you're still in that Ladd Park, getting soaked pretty good. McKay's Mill, getting soaked pretty good. Arrington's going to get that College Grove, more rain on the way. This is the stronger cell. You follow the lightning to follow the strongest storms. Follow the lightning to follow the strongest storms. That's where most of the flashing is happening. So this is the one storm that looks less formidable in time. It continues to look weaker as the atmosphere cools. It's not done yet. It's not completely kicked, but it's now moving into Auburn Town. Maybe some winds gusting to 35 or 40, maybe some pea-size hail to as much as dime size. I'd be surprised if it's bigger than that. Let's check our storm threat button here and just see what that shows. Again, like I said, sometimes this is overdone. You know, I'm certainly not thinking this 1 inch or 1.5 inch diameter hail still with this, but I think it's more pea to dime, just based on, you know, what I've seen through the years with the radar and the time of year and that sort of thing. Worst case, nickel, getting up into Auburn Town, but that would be it. So next in line would be Woodbury. You know, there's actually a mountain. Did you know that there's actually a mountain? So higher than, maybe it's 2,000 feet exactly, or maybe 2,001 feet high, just north of Woodbury. So it's going to send that. You can see it right here. Dixon County is 4,000 people without power. So we're over 1,000 in Davidson. You know, we showed you White Bluff video before from Dixon County, just east of Dixon on Highway 70, and it looked like easily they had 60-mile-per-hour winds, maybe 65, maybe a gust to 70. Who knows? You know, unless there's an anemometer there, it's tough to tell, especially in low-light settings. But it was nasty, and so a good many people lost power from that. And we heard from downtown Dixon, 1 mile north of the center of town, that essentially, you know, a tree was blown down on a house. That's terrible. No one wants damage from this, but that's why we had the first alert that was issued and still remains in effect. Okay, so the Weather Service is favoring what they call a significant weather advisory as opposed to a warning. They haven't made that decision yet, but they're saying, hey, you know, this is weakening, maybe a significant weather advisory, which essentially means still a strong storm, but just below severe limits. That might be coming out for the rest of Wilson, parts of Cannon, maybe parts of DeKalb, and looks like even parts of Warren County in time. We'll see how they handle this, but we still have this severe thunderstorm warning for the eastern part of this area. So Murfreesboro, I'm not concerned about you anymore for severe. I'm not worried about Las Casas. You know, I'm not worried about Noreen. I am remotely concerned for some still gusty wind up around Statesville, but that's it. So this is almost out of the warned area. Good news. Time now 5:28, and this warning expires at 6, but I promise it is canceled before that time. We have storms over downtown Nashville. We have a cluster of showers and storms north of town. This really should be the last line. There's the last little batch. It's all sort of hung around together and sort of back built a little bit, but this really should be the last line to go on through. And so you can see You see those yellow counties drop off. That's the cancellation of the watch. Once that gets through your area, I think you're good. I think you're done for the night. I'd be very surprised once that little line gets through your area if you're not done with rain. So if it's 5:30 now, coming up on 5:30, I would be very surprised if we're not done with rain in Nashville by 6:30, 6:45 at the latest. Maybe before that, maybe 6:15. I like to measure the speed of these things and then draw the distance and do a little calculation, but I can't on the fly. So I'm just going to say, hey, in the next 45 minutes to an hour, at most hour 15, downtown Nashville is done with rain. And so if that's the case, you can extrapolate and just say, hey, this whole